Hi, I'm Catherine Bruton. I'm the author of No Ball Issues in Syria, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to be nominated for Sefton Super Reads alongside some amazing other titles. It's an absolute honour. I think I'm particularly pleased for this book because this is a book that I really believe in, and it's a story that I really want people to read because it's the story of 10-year-old Aya who has come with her mum and her little brother as refugees to the UK seeking asylum from the war in Syria. And it's not my story to tell. One of your questions is, how do you know a story will work? And in lots of ways, I found this story really hard to tell. So I really questioned whether or not it was okay to tell it. This is not my story to tell. I've worked as a teacher for many years, and I've worked with lots of refugee children in Africa, in the UK, refugees from Eastern Europe and from Syria. And I really felt that this was a story that needed to be told, and that many of those children, I really hope one day they'll get to tell the stories themselves, and they'll tell it much better than I have. But for the moment, these were voices that weren't being heard. And so I decided it was a story that I wanted to try and tell, to make people look behind the labels of refugee and asylum seeker and see the child behind and the stories behind. And so that's really what I hope people will get from this book, and why I'm so glad it's been nominated, and that maybe people will go out there and read Aya's story and then and find out more about what's going on in the world, and that maybe gives voice to some people who at the moment don't have a voice and don't get to speak for themselves. So what inspires my work is one of your questions. So I mentioned I'm a teacher. I work part-time as an English teacher. So I see firsthand the power that stories have to open young people's eyes, to make them ask questions, to broaden their horizons, to expand their capacity for empathy, and to rock their world, to switch on light bulbs in their heads. And it's those books that I teach and the way I see kids reacting to them that makes me want to write stories that do the same, that make people ask questions about the world they live in, that make people confront some of the most difficult and challenging things in the world, but in a way that I hope gives them capacity, some hope, and makes them think about their own role in the world. And this book, I hope, makes you think about how our small acts of kindness can change the world, because both Aya experiences a lot of kindness, and she is really kind. She helps change other people's worlds too. She's definitely not just the victim in this story. She's also the heroine as well, which is really important. So I think I'm probably inspired most by my pupils. I teach some incredible, amazing young people who make me laugh and make me think and make me look at books differently. And I write for them. And sometimes a little bit, I include little bits of them in my stories too, because kids are brilliant, and I love my students. How do I know a story will work is one of your questions. Like I say, this one, I really wasn't sure it would. I got about a third of the way through and I thought, I'm going to have to give it up. I wonder if that ever happens to you with a story. So I can't do this, I can't do it. And then I actually ended up speaking to some people from Bath Welcomes Refugees, a local refugee charity near to me, and some people who'd experienced stories a little bit like Aya's, and they really inspired me to try and keep telling the story that it felt like it was important to tell. And it's really interesting because this is my next book, this is a proof copy, it's called Another Twist in the Tale. And this one, I don't know, this one just poured out like butter. This one was really easy to write, and this one was really difficult, and yet I'm very proud of both books in different ways, which goes to show that just because a story is harder or easier doesn't mean to say it's better or worse. They're just different every time, and writers find stories difficult sometimes too. When did I realise I was going to be a career as a writer? I loved writing at school. I had some really inspiring teachers, but I never thought I was going to be a writer. But I did always keep a diary when I was a student, every day, for years and years and years. And eventually it was when I was working in Africa, in fact, with refugee children back in my 20s, that my diary started to turn into a story. And interestingly, that was a story about one of the refugee children in the school and about my experiences there. It was really badly written. One's first novels often are. It wasn't very good, but I wrote it, and that's probably when I thought I was going to be a writer, that writing a diary, I wanted to start telling stories that weren't just my own, that tell stories that are more interesting than just about me. And and that's when I think it started for me. Yeah, so A, don't give up on the stories you're writing now. The books that I read when I was your age inspired me. Writing a diary inspired me, and sometimes stories come back to you from 20 years on and they end up being novels later on. So sometimes ideas might not be ready to finish now. You might have ideas now that maybe just need to try playing with them and they might come into a story later. Anyway, I've waffled on. Thank you so much for nominating me. Absolutely thrilled. Good luck to everybody who's involved. There's incredible books and enjoy reading them. And thank you ever so much.